Welcome to my channel, The Three Mountains. My name is White Eagle. Today I'm going to talk about breaking mechanical laws. In any environment, learn the laws very well so you know how to break them to your advantage. My words. Now, this is a lecture that was given by Master Samael Aun Weor. Tonight we will penetrate deeply into the topic of the consciousness. Many think that through the law of evolution it is possible to reach the intimate self-realization of the being, and that is wrong. We do not deny the law of evolution. What is absurd consists to attribute such laws psychological aspects that it does not have. It is ostensible that all ascent is followed by a descent. It is inconceivable to have an infinite ascent. If we climb a mountain, when we reach the top, then we will find ourselves with a descent. That's how the law of evolution and involution work. Evolution happens up to a certain point determined by nature. Then involuting processes start. Observe a plant. The seed sprouts. Then you can see the evolution force of nature. The plant gives fruit, it reproduces itself, and later we can observe involution processes taking over the plant. The plant withers and it becomes dry wood. That's the force of involution in action. See what happens in a human being. It is obvious that there is evolution in a woman who is pregnant. Then we see the baby growing into the child, a teenager, an adult. But then the involuting process starts, and we see how the person goes little by little withering, like a plant, aging, and finally dies. That's the truth. But to attribute to these laws of evolution and involution psychological processes that they do not have, it is wrong, absurd. When we read all the theories of evolution, one realizes how deceitful is such dogma. The minds of people have degenerated to such an extent that now they can't see the involuting or destructive processes on a big scale. What we need, my dear brothers, is to distance ourselves from such mechanical laws of nature, to distance ourselves from the laws of evolution and involution. Such laws constitute the axis of all this machinery that we call nature. Now my explanation. I have described in previous videos how the ray of creation starts in the absolute. So you watch again video 107. And then the ray of Okidanok, or the ray of creation, or the light of Christ, descends, creating the 10 Sephirot of the Kabbalah, and continues to the health. That is in video 108. Now in this video, I explained how the big wheel works in video number 7 and the journey of the monad or essence. So please watch again, yes, that video. Now, in its descent, this ray of creation gives life to the great wheel of samsara, where all organisms are constantly being processed under the laws of evolution and involution. But in the physical, you can see the laws of nature in action. Yes, so this is just an example of one food chain that I found, right? Now, in the astral though, you can really see this huge wheel where each one of us is found subjected to, and all of humanity is buried in mud. And this big wheel is buried in mud almost to the top. Yeah, and I made a video in video 98. I speak about mud, right? And only the top of the wheel can be seen surfacing as it rotates. And here you have the image when I saw the big wheel of samsara rotating, and my being was telling me it's very old and one day it will stop working completely. And that is true, yes? So it also gave me the warning, don't get too close. You don't want to fall in there again. Yeah, and I put alchemy frees us from the wheel, but you can see here mud. Yes, the wheel is buried in mud, so all of humanity is buried in mud too, or egos. So these are the mechanical laws that Master Samael is telling us to distance ourselves from. I say you must break these laws so as to escape them. How? We need to be subjected by superior laws. An inferior law is transcended by a superior law. In the superior worlds, I was shown Master Joshua or Jesus holding the tablets of the law instead of Moses. And these are the superior laws to live by in order to transcend inferior mechanical laws that we find ourselves inside. Yeah. So here we have the tablet of the law. Yes. Normally we see Moses, but here, as I told you, I saw Master Jesus. So these are the laws of God, the Father, Kether, by which we are to live by. They are the same laws that God gave to Moses for the people who became liberated in the past. And these laws are the same laws for all who want to ascend and become liberated now and in the future. Now, Master Samael continues. We are still inside this tragic big wheel of life and death. We need to insert ourselves through the path of the revolution of the consciousness. This law distances itself from the laws of evolution and involution. The self-realization of the being cannot be a mechanical process. Many people think that throughout many reincarnations one reaches perfection. That is false. People do not understand the difference between reincarnation and return. Reincarnation was made known by Lord Krishna 1,000 years before Jesus. Lord Krishna never said that all humans reincarnate. Krishna taught that the devas, the gods, the semi-gods, the titans are called to reincarnate. To reincarnate, it requires a definite individuality, and the human beings do not have a defined individuality, because the ego makes us many. We are full of contradictions. If we could really see ourselves inside, we will see the multiple egos defects in each center of our machine. What happens beyond our death is that those egos, demons, return. They reincorporate inside a new organism. And when they reincorporate themselves, they repeat all their actions from previous lives. That's the law of the return and the law of recurrence governing the whole of humanity. How can we speak of reincarnation of these people? Reincarnation is for those individuals who do not have the ego anymore. It is for individuals who are pure spirit, for sacred individuals. Later, it got all misunderstood and confused with the law of return. So distinguish between reincarnation and return. People return. All of you return because you are still not sacred individuals. Now, my words. So what is the path of the revolution of the consciousness that Master Samael speaks about? So this image will clarify it. So if we see here is an image of the big wheel of samsara that is broken. Yes, we need to break free with the three factors. So this big wheel has the evolution process and the involution process, and it's always rotating, but we can break free, with the revolution of the consciousness. Yes, we break the mechanical laws, we break with the natural laws. Remember, the ego is pain. The ego is the reason for the will to exist. This is the wheel of eternal returns. We die, we return, we die, we return, we die, we return, etc. Let's continue. First, I need to show you another thing that I was shown in the astral. And this is another image. Yes, I show you here before, the 4 bodies of sin: the physical, the vital, the astral, and the mental. And there is a wheel inside each one of us and inside each one of our bodies of sin, our 4 bodies of sin. So the mechanical laws, these are the mechanical laws governing us from the superior worlds. Yes? Now let's continue. According to this, each one of us has his or her own will in each body and is subjected to the laws of nature. Remember, I showed you in video 10 an anion, and I told you that we kill the ego gradually, by stages. Yes? Therefore, we need to stop the rotation of this internal wheel that we have. How? With the revolution of the consciousness that Master Samael speaks about. We work on the 3 factors. First, the wheel will move slowly, then more slowly, until one day it will stop completely. This is how I saw it along the path. Now I show you the wheel inside normal people subjected to the laws of nature versus a person working on the revolution of the consciousness. So that will be my next image. Now take a look and you can see the difference. So we start with normal people, yeah? And here in the sexual center, they don't produce any light. They just do normal sex. And the wheel is rotating. Yes, it continues rotating with its involution processes and evolution processes. There is no light along the spinal column at all. The egos multiply, yes, and the egos cause illnesses inside the human body, old age, and we are machines serving the ego. Now, in contrast, we have somebody who has entered the path of the revolution of the consciousness. So in his sexual center, we can see that he is practicing alchemy. So if he is practicing alchemy, he is generating light. And that light energy is flowing up along the spinal column, producing the awakening of the consciousness, right? And that wheel is stopping, yes, starts, as I said before, is a gradual process of stopping the wheel. So the aging also will be stopping and longevity occurs. So this is the internal revolution of the consciousness and the self-realization of the being in progress. And here we are at the service of the being of God inside us. All right, let's continue now. The master continues talking now about the golden embryo. Yeah, and I made a video about that, so you can watch it again if you don't understand. As the ego is being eliminated, there comes to happen extraordinary processes. The essence, the psychic material, is an emanation of the universal soul in us. As the ego dies, then that essence will be liberating, emancipating, and that happens to our consciousness. As it goes free in itself, the seminal pearl is formed in us, what the Tao speaks about. Later, with time, the seminal pearl is transformed in the golden embryo, and this embryo is developed more and more in accordance with the death of our egos. This embryo will achieve the equilibrium inside us between the spiritual and the material. Yes? The golden embryo will give us a definite individuality. When all the ego has been turned to dust, what remains in us is the golden embryo, the awakened consciousness in us. A freed consciousness can move itself throughout the infinite space. With an awakened consciousness, we don't have any problems with the astral unfolding. We leave the body at will. What is important is for you to know how to turn the ego to dust. It is convenient to learn to handle the creative energy. That is the mystery of the golden blossom. When the consciousness is free in its totality, then we can see, hear, and touch and feel the great realities of the superior worlds. We become competent investigators of life in the superior worlds. The process of dying is very profound. In the process of birth, we work with the sexual hydrogens with alchemy. In a second octave, the hydrogen will be crystallizing after saturating the cells in the wonderful shape of the astral body. When the hydrogen is passed to the next level, in a superior third octave, the sexual hydrogen fabricates the mental body. When the hydrogen processes itself in a fourth octave through the musical notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, then one creates the causal body and one can incarnate that which we call human soul or causal body. That's when we have an authentic man, a legitimate man, a true man. Only by working on the three factors for the revolution of the consciousness, one can walk along the path that will reach such heights and to the final liberation. Now the master continues. If the mechanical law of evolution could take us to the self-realization of the being, then it would be the same as believing that God is tyrannical. Because to be pushed by force to somewhere where one does not want to go is absurd. There are millions of people who do not want to, so why force them? There are millions who do not want the esoteric teachings, so why does someone have to give it to them by force? If the natural laws of evolution will change people by force, then God is a tyrant, yes, a cruel and oppressive ruler. God is not tyrannical. God gives each one of us freedom to choose the path we want. God respects the freedom of each one of us. Now, my words, this is true. You need to fight along the path to self-realize God inside you. God is the final goal to achieve along the path. Yes? And now I was shown this by my being in the superior worlds. Yeah? And my being said to me that this is, just a moment, this is the loom of God. Yeah, so here we have Yesod, where we will work with alchemy. And we need to self-realize inside ourselves the 10 Sephirot. God hides inside his own loom, inside his own creation. We have to realize God, the Father, the monad inside us, right? And we have the three triangles, the logoic triangle, yeah, or the crown as it is called, then the ethical triangle and the magical triangle. Now, it is the Divine Mother, the one who knits this loom inside each one of us, right? And this is done by our choice. If we want to do this path of the revolution of the consciousness, to take the vertical path. Now let's continue. These are my words. In a final synthesis, the whole of creation is reabsorbed inside the Absolute at the end of a cosmic day. It is reabsorbed inside Ein Sof, and we are simple drops of water inside an ocean. Yes? And I show you this image now. So this is the Absolute. And I have explained in a previous video about Ein, where we find Elohim, Ein Sof, where we find Kether, the Elohim, God the Father, and Ein Sof. So the whole of the creation is reabsorbed inside Ein Sof. And we are just simple atoms, yeah, or like drops of water inside an ocean. But we need to distinguish between atoms without self-realization, here on the left, and atoms with self-realization inside. Yeah, and this is what Master Samael says here in the final synthesis. Each one of us is nothing more than an atom of absolute abstract space. Yes, Ein Sof. Let's continue. Those who reach self-realization enjoy absolute happiness. Now, this is an atom of a man who has realized God inside himself. And if you can see, there are seed atoms, yes, because he has self-realized all the bodies. We have the physical, the astral, the solar mental, solar causal, the divine soul, Atman, the Holy Spirit, the Son, and the Father. Yeah, so it's complete. Now, this is a normal atom with the only 3 primary forces. And when a new cosmic day starts, this atom will have to descend inside the big wheel again to suffer, yeah, where there is much suffering, and it will be given again the chance to self-realize if he or she wants to. Yes. Now read more about this in the book Tarot and Kabbalah by Master Samael Aun Weor. Up to here is my video, and for those of you who are interested to enter the path of the revolution of the consciousness, I advise you to start watching my videos, starting from video number 1, and make your way upwards. See you next time. Thanks for watching.